Ladies and gentlemen, it's that time once again for me to sit back, put my headphones on, and turn this thing over to my girl, Felicia J, and the Felicia J Show. My oh my, do we got a conversation for you tonight? So, I tell you what, I'ma sit back and let these ladies do their thing, cause we in the den once again.
Hello and welcome to the Felicia J Show right here on Indie Evolution Online Radio. I'm your host, Felicia J, broadcasting to you from Arlington, Texas. Before I go any further, I must say that God is awesome, and I thank Him for His grace and His mercy, and for you, the listeners of this show and the station, who tune in faithfully every week. Let me also say that at this particular time, I honor God right now, and I pray that He continues to heal the hearts of those who have been affected by tragedy over the recent weeks. Now, if this is your first time tuning in to the Felicia J Show, let me just say that, unlike the various mainstream radio shows with mainstream news and music, our show offers a grassroots approach to conversation and news, as well as featuring musical artists. Our show focuses on everyday people. So no matter your age, your gender, ethnicity, geographical location, or your educational background, we hope to inspire you with interesting topics and guests to live your life to its fullest potential and to take every opportunity to pursue your dreams. Well, guys, I am so excited about today's show. This evening, I have invited four of the most incredible women I know to sit with me in my den to discuss relationships, careers, and sex. These fabulous women are Mrs. Sanji Ward-Jones of Fort Worth, Texas, Mrs. Latia McGee of Mansfield, Miss Renata Hankins of Killeen, and Mrs. Devlin Davis of Euless. Welcome to the show, Divas. How are you?
Thank you. Hello.
Hello. Glad to be here.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Well, great. I certainly thank you guys for joining me in the den today. We're going to jump right into the conversation. Miss Renata Hankins, would you tell the audience a little bit about yourself, please?
Yes, ma'am. My name is Renata Hankins. I'm 49 years old. I am a blood-washed, born-again believer, and I don't have good sense or so I've been told, but nobody's able to prove it. And I just love life. I love laughter. I love living. And I love men.
Thank you, Miss Renata. Miss Latia, would you introduce yourself to the audience?
Yes, my name is Latia McGee. I am 38 years old. I am a mother of four. I am married. I've been with my husband for 20 years, so he is my high school sweetheart. His name is Michael McGee. I'm originally from San Antonio, but I've been in the Dallas-Fort Worth area for 10 years, and I am excited about being on the show.
Thank you, Miss Latia. We're excited to have you. Miss Sanji, would you tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Hello, my name is Sanji Ward-Jones. I'm 44. I'm married with 3 children. I have 2 grandchildren. I've been married for 3 years, and thank you for inviting me, Felicia.
You're welcome, Miss Sanji. Thank you for accepting. And certainly last but not least, Miss Devlin, tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
Hello, my name is Devlin. I am a mom and a housewife, and I have 5 children, 5 grandchildren. I work in the Arlington School District. I am graduating this coming May in my master's, getting my master's in education and kinesiology.
Oh, congratulations to you.
Right.
Again, thank you, ladies, for joining me. Well, as you know, women play a major role in the universe. And beginning at a young age, we learn fairly quickly how to navigate life, whether through the teachings of those who raised us or through the teachings of the streets, so to speak. In any event, we grow up and eventually we get married, some of us. People often say that when we stand at the altar and say, I do to our mate, we're also saying, I do to their family as well. Starting with you, Sanji, how do you handle outside relationships as it relates to your marriage, such as your mother-in-law or the in-law cousins or your siblings interfering in your relationship? How do you handle that?
Well, Felicia, from time and trusting people at one time where I thought I could tell family members certain things about my relationship before I got married, and then me in return hearing what I told this certain person, when it came back to me. I have a better, I go to my husband first with anything. If I'm having a problem, if it's a problem within our marriage, I just talk it out with him. I don't think family, in my opinion, is the best way to go at times, because your family will, in my opinion, judge your spouse, based off information that you told them if you're going through something, And I don't want, my spouse to be judged by something that we may have been going through at that time, because that's not, him overall.
Right. So let me ask you, Miss Renata, how did you handle outside relationships as they related to your marriage?
Well, Felicia, as you well know, I came from a very big family, and we were fortunate enough to have the house where everybody wanted to come and congregate. Now, my ex-husband, on the other hand, they loved me, I loved them, but he was an only child. So it's like when I became friends and met all of his friends and family, there was a little tension and I think some jealousy in that I was getting a lot of attention. And it got to the point where I was feeling like we were competitors more than husband and wife. So it was an experience that I hope I never have to experience again.
Wow. In that, let me ask you, when you had difficulties with your husband, did you include any of the family members into your marital affairs?
Well, there was two sisters that he would often, one particular, the one that's next to me, her name is Adriana, he would oftentimes talk to her. And that was a problem simply because I'm thinking, if it's something about me, shouldn't you talk to me? And in all fairness, sometimes he did, but most of the time he didn't. And that was one of the things I really resented the most, because as far as I was concerned, I wasn't even given an opportunity to explain or, be involved at all, and I was the one that was supposed to have been the problem.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me ask you, Steblen, so in that, let me ask you, how do you, or is it okay to create boundaries with your family, your outside relatives, so to speak, the in-laws and your relatives, as it relates to your marriage?
Well, when it comes to my marriage, I did say I do to my husband at the altar. But as far as family, when it comes to my personal matters, I say I don't to the family. They only need to know so much, I believe. My mom used to say, keep some things to yourself. Don't never let everyone know everything that's going on in your home. You might as well have your family over every day. So I need to keep some things to ourselves, just between me and my husband. So, yes, I do think we need to set some boundaries. I am also from a big family, and likewise my husband. So when it comes to family, we love each other. We love our family. We love both sides of our family. So we do invite them in, but we only invite them in at certain perimeters. So, yes, do not cross the line. If I want to give you the personal information, you'll have it. Other than that, keep my business out of your mouth. It's just between me and my husband. And I won't have to really worry about it if I don't share it. I won't have to hear it everywhere else, and you added more onto it. So I'd rather just keep some of those real personal things just between me and my husband.
And Latia, do you feel the same way, that it's okay to create boundaries within your marriage as it relates to outside relationships?
Yes, it's an absolute must. But I have to admit that I learned that the hard way. I used to tell everything almost to everybody, as far as like when certain things happen and you're in the moment and you're frustrated. But now I've kind of learned that you can only tell certain things to certain people. And most of the time, if it's real deep and personal, you really need to just discuss that between, you and your spouse. My family is very big. His family is very big. And it doesn't work out when you start mixing family into your problems. My mother and my sisters love my husband. I want them to keep loving him, so it's best that I keep certain things, to myself and not involve them. And everyone has their roles, and let each one of us just kind of play our role, and then we can all get along so much better. And by doing that, sometimes that means that you kind of have to keep things just within your family. However, I'm very close to my sisters, so I do have sisters that I can vent to, and I do feel comfortable enough that I believe that it's going to stay with them. And even if it didn't, they're not going to judge my husband based on what I tell them at that time.
Mm-hmm. Ladies, we are off to an excellent start here. We are going to take a quick commercial break and come back with more of Divas in the Den. You're tuned in to the Felicia J. Show right here on Indie Evolution Online Radio. We'll be right back.
Monday through Saturday, we have a rip-roaring great time right here on the station. But we want you to understand something. Here at Indie Evolution, we put God first. So we ask you to take some time out. Come by the station on Sundays and check out Indie Gospel Sunday. We offer up the brightest indie gospel artists out here, taking advantage of a platform to spread the gospel. We also come to you live at 7 p.m. with our live edition of Indie Gospel Sunday. With featured artists, biblical principles, and scriptural references. So make sure you lock it in and tune in each and every Sunday right here at www.ieonlineradio.com. Indie Evolution Online Radio. We give it the whole day. You mean to tell me you haven't heard? Heard about what? About the hottest and fastest growing online radio station to hit the internet. We making big moves. What you talking about? Indie Evolution Online Radio is here, and we're giving you the hottest indie artists from all over the planet. Man, I love indie music. So make sure you tune in daily, starting at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, as we give you indie inspiration and praise. Then at noon, we move right on in to the midday mix. At 3, we're giving you the late afternoon grind. Then when it's time to get off work at 5, we're gonna get you home with the rush hour mix. So make sure you lock it in, load it up, and tune in to the hottest and fastest growing online radio station on the internet. www.ieonlineradio.com. Indie Evolution Online Radio. Indie Evolution.
And welcome back. You're tuned in to the Felicia J. Show right here on Indie Evolution Online Radio. If you are just joining us, I'm sitting in the den talking with the Divas, Miss Sanji Ward-Jones, Miss Latia McGee, Miss Renata Hankins, and Miss Devlin Davis. So let me ask you, Sanji, how do you navigate attitudes and assumptions held over from your family or your spouse's family, such as beliefs or habits or traditions that you've established, such as, maybe alternating holidays? How do you handle that type of thing?
Pretty much, Felicia. My husband is pretty much a homebody, so he had the traditional, go to grandma's house for the holidays and things like that. But now that we're much older now, we've started our own traditions. Not that we don't go visit our grandparents, but now that we are grandparents, we want to start our own traditions, with our grandchildren and our older children. And for the last couple of years, my mom is not a cooker like she used to be. Well, not for the family. She cooks for other people, but we don't have the traditional Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter dinner over my mom's. We do dinner at my home now, and then, we also go to my grandmother's house. But we love it. It works fine for us because we get excited. We're excited that, we're able to start traditions now. So, we really love it. I love it. I love to cook, so I don't mind. I love it.
Latia, how do you navigate attitudes and assumptions held over from your family or your spouse's family?
For me, it works out just fine. I actually embrace it just because I love family. So for us with the holidays, because we're from San Antonio, we try to go home every other year. And when we go home, we're able to visit all sides of the family. So we'll go visit his his side of the family, the maternal and the paternal grandmothers, and then we're able to go and visit my family. And because my family starts everything so late, it doesn't cross time. It's not a tug of war. But then on the flip side, I also want to create my own traditions because I have kids of my own. And I forgot to mention I do have a granddaughter, so eventually I'm going to be, granny where everybody's coming to their house. So his grandmother and my family actually comes here sometime, and then I do all of the cooking and all of the gathering is done in my house. So it works both ways. And I just kind of pick up a little bit from both sides, and I'm kind of incorporating into my own tradition. So I haven't had an issue as far as, having to put somebody in their place or, tell my husband, look, just because your granny did it don't mean I'm going to do it, because it actually has worked for us. So it works for us.
Okay. Renata, let me pose that same question to you. How did you handle that type of thing?
Well, unfortunately, we were not able to spend a lot of holidays together as husband and wife. He lives in Temple, Texas, and, of course, I am here in Killeen. And there were so many times when they would ask or invite him, and he did not want to. For some reason, I don't know why he didn't really care for my family. I don't know if it may have been because my mother, who, God rest her soul, she was 5'11", and she asked him if she's good enough to sleep with, why don't you marry her? And, that made him a little nervous. So he always had an excuse. Now, granted, there were a couple of times when he did come over, but it was like trying to pull teeth out of a cat. And, it finally got to the point where they're like, he's invited and he won't come, then forget him. We'll go on. Same thing when my family would come to visit me, and my mother would invite him, let's all go out to eat as a family on me, my treat. And I would have to make excuses for them. And finally, they just got tired of asking. So I just told them, I said, well, I'm fixing to go over here with my family. We're going to go to Red Lobster to eat, and I'll see you when I get back. That kind of thing. And that was another thing that just really grated on my last nerve.
Wow. Did your family ever talk to you about that?
Oh, absolutely. And I got so tired of making excuses as to why. It's like, okay, but that's what you used the last time, but what's wrong with him this time? Well, he had to go play somewhere or had to go to visit somewhere or he's, in the hospital or whatever. There's like, yeah, okay.
Wow. Devlin, let me pose that same question to you. How did you navigate those type attitudes or assumptions held over from your family or your spouse's family?
Well, my family and my spouse's family, we both kind of get along. We get along real good. We get along fine. Our traditions are the same. We have the same type of values and roots. So we're from, and again, I'm from Chicago, and so is my husband. He's from Chicago. So when we go home to Chicago, being out here in Texas, when we do go home, it's just really a joy to kind of see us because they haven't seen us maybe for 6 months or a year or maybe even 2 years. So when we do get to go home on a holiday, we just try to work it out. We maybe see my family in the day because we are, my family is definitely more churchy. So we can spend church time even with my family, and that kind of satisfies that longing for your loved ones and all of that. And then maybe we'll go see his family later on in the evening. Whatever the situation is, we do try to work it out. Again, I have 5 children of my own, which one of the other young ladies have mentioned, and I live here in Texas, and so do my children. They're all grown. So some of these holidays, I have to even just stay home and spend with my own family. And so we just try to work it out. Sometimes we go together as with the family, with my children, to go see our loved ones in Chicago. Other than that, we have to just kind of work it out, go maybe not on a traditional holiday. We go see them in the summer and let it work out like that.
Now, you mentioned that you have 5 children of your own. How does that work in your family as far as your husband is concerned? These are not his children, correct?
2 of them are. My last 2 are from my husband. The first 3 is from a previous marriage. One of my sons from the previous, I have 2 children that are married, that has children. And one of my sons married someone from Trinidad. So speaking of traditions, it was definitely different. But we still worked it out. I may not have eaten everything or would eat everything that she cooked, but we did have Thanksgiving when we were here in Texas, and I didn't go back home. We did have, especially when he first got married, we did start making some of our traditions with her traditions. I didn't always have dinner at my house with my children and my husband. Sometimes we went to his mother-in-law's house. And even with my daughter, we went to her mother-in-law and father-in-law's house where we just had whatever they would have. I may bring the turkey and she bring the sides. And we just kind of made it work like that. She never had dressing. I would make the dressing. Well, I would definitely try to eat some of the Trinidad food. So we try to make it work.
How did you deal with how does your husband, in the beginning stages of your marriage, how did your husband handle his stepchildren? Was that difficult? Was that a difficult transition?
For Stevelin?
Yes, for Stevelin.
In my marriage, it was, he was fine. Again, he had 14 brothers and sisters. So he was fine with making traditions. It was just my girls wasn't really all that. They really wasn't all that happy. I had 2 daughters and a son from the previous marriage. They wasn't all that happy with, even though he was nice and he was kind. And when I married my husband, my son was 2 years old. So he really knows almost more of my husband than really his dad. But we worked it out, and it wasn't so much my husband, it was really more so my kids, and trying to assure them that this is my husband, he's the man for me, he's going to treat you just like a dad, or just like a dad would. I wouldn't compare both of these dads with each other because my ex-husband, he was a little off, a little crazy. So I didn't compare the both of them because I didn't want to even meet those kind of challenges later on. I didn't want my daughters to say, well, how come you never shared my dad, my real dad, with us? How come you didn't whenever they want to see him, we made sure they would be able to go see him and talk to him and whatever. I didn't keep anyone from no one. So, but it's a challenge in the beginning.
But you seem to have, listening to you, it seems that things are worked out.
Yes, they have.
Yes, Sandra, let me ask you, are there stepchildren in your relationship?
Yes, I have 3 of my own, and Tim has 4 of his own. At the beginning of our relationship, everything was fine, but I think that the older my children got, they became very rebellious. I don't know if maybe the boys thought that, I don't know if every teenage boy probably thinks you're not my daddy, that type of attitude, I think they respected him. They loved him as a dad. They really do. And Tim loved them as his own children as well. But then there's that hard-headed part. And then me being a mama want to jump in and run and save the kids. Which I give any woman any advice, do not do that. If you're going to be with that man, and you have respect for that man, let that man raise that child. Don't interfere. I've done that. Don't do it because it will break up a relationship. And I went through that over and over with Tim. Girls, in a way, I always tell Tim, I think in some way they resent me because Tim is not with their mother anymore. I don't know if it's a stepchildren syndrome. We treat them all the same. We don't, treat them any different. We treat them all the same. I don't know, maybe because the girls are younger, and I think that girls are more attached to their fathers. I don't know, because I'm really attached to my father. Anything my mother said was wrong. Everything my daddy said was right. So, we love them all, and I had to learn to grow and, and let go because I had 3 kids by the time I was 22. So I was the mother and the dad, even though I wasn't the dad, but I was the mom and the father. And me just being real close to them, and then I wanted to protect them all the time, I had to, let go and then let them grow up to be, a man and let a man raise my children. That's what I had to do. So I give anyone, any advice if you're going to be with that person, just learn to let go. I'm pretty sure a man ought to raise a boy instead of a woman, more so than a woman. Mm-hmm.
Latia, let me pose that same question to you. I know that you have a son, or an older child that is not your husband. How did that work out in your relationship?
I'm agreeing, and I can honestly admit this now as I'm going through things with what Sanji said as far as the problem. I think I'm more of the problem was more of the problem than I realized. Growing up, or when my son was growing up, because I got with my husband before my son even turned 1. So it was really never a problem. It wasn't until they hit those adolescent or those teen years that things became a problem. And then all of a sudden I'm looking at things and I'm like, well, if it was our kids, would he act this way? Or is he doing that because it's TJ and that's not his son? You start speculating, you start creating more issues. And all in all, when you really step back and look at it, there really is no difference. He's going to handle them and has always handled them all the same. People don't even know that that's not his son. But I don't know what it is, why we put up, this defense or whatever we call ourselves doing, protection. But if we're going to be with him, then we need to recognize that we have to really kind of step back and let him, and we can't say you got to treat him like he's yours, but then when he's treating him like he probably would treat his own, you can't come back and say, wait a minute, are you doing it because it's not his? Because it's really not fair. And my husband has told me over and over again, you will never understand because you're not a step parent. And I told him, you're right. And in all fairness, I wouldn't have been a step parent because when I met him at 18, I made a decision at 18. If he would have had a kid, I would not have dated him. And that's and I know it's wrong. It is double standards, but it is what it is. At 18, I would not have had the temperament to deal with a baby mama at that age. So I made a decision. He made his decision to be with me. And, for the most part, it's worked out, and we haven't had many issues. But lately, over the past few years, in the older years, it put a little strain on us.
But you worked it through.
We're working it through. He's grown now. My son, he's grown now, and I'm having to learn to let go because my husband is like, he's grown, and I'm still saying he is legal. He's not grown. There's a difference to me. So we battle even on that. Because I'm thinking that 21 is not grown. He's nowhere near grown mentally or anything else. But my husband's saying, but he's wanting to be grown. He's wanting to make his own decision. He doesn't want to listen. So he's grown. So that is where I'm having to learn to kind of step back and respect him and realize that at the end of the day, my son is going to do what he wants to do, and I'm going to be with my husband. I need to respect him, so I have to, work it out that way.
That is so true. And, I know that you have raised those children, you and Michael have raised those children in the fear and the admonition of God, the best way that you know how. So you have to trust that no matter what the type of decision he makes, whether they be good or bad, he knows right from wrong, and you've instilled the values and morals in him. That's only so much you and Michael as parents can do. The rest is up on the kids.
And I'm just now realizing that that's the part that I struggle with.
I know, right? I feel the same way. Yeah, my boys, they was now my boys will say, I know what Tim was trying to teach us then, Mama. I know what he was trying to say. I looked at him as a father, so, he's really my dad, Mom, because he was with Breon. Breon was 2. 2 years old. And then Breon go to so far and say, he's the one taught me how to stand up and pee, Mom. I say, yeah, Breon, I remember. Yeah, he taught you how to pee, Breon. But and to be honest with you, my youngest son, I think he really takes a lot out of Tim because he is a hard worker. If either one of my kids, if they working and if they lose their job, the first thing they say, Mom, what Tim say? I said, you know he fussed and cussed. I said, you know he fussed and cussed. Because he think if you a boy, a man, you better keep your butt a job. And he said, if he get up and do it, you better do it. You know, so that's how he is. And my youngest son, he'll work 2 and 3 jobs because he always thinks, you know, Tim do that. And so, you know, like, even though he's not his biological father, he really, you know, I really think he molded Brian, my oldest son. I mean, he'll work, but if it's not what he want to do, he'll quit. And then you hear Tim fussing, and then here I go saying, well, that's not what he want to do. So you can't fuss if that ain't what he want to do. He'll find himself, you know, there go to mama, can get back in. But it take a lot for me to be quiet, but here later I just been staying back. Like, he grown, he don't stay with me, so I don't have nothing to say.
So take heart, Latia. You have a gang of support. So when those trying times come, baby, you have some women to fall back on.
Man, that conversation got so deep that we had to break this thing up into 2 parts. So this is the conclusion of part 1 of Divas in the Den. Make sure you're back in the building with us next week, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time for part 2. Because I guarantee you, man, these ladies are going in. Hey, this your man, Jay Sharp. We're breaking this thing down, and we want to make sure that you're in the building next week, same time, same station, www.ieonlineradio.com.